Thank you for joining us today. I have my assistant, Dylan, my son. He's off school today, so he's behind camera, and he's going to help me with some of the camera angles and some of the reminding of what I'm supposed to talk about today. So today I wanted to cover a topic that's relevant really to everyone, talking about circulation, lymphatic, how to improve the movement of those two systems. And there's a whole bunch of ramifications if we have poor circulation and poor lymphatic movement. That our body transports nutrients to its cells through all of these systems. Our body removes waste through detoxification and expels debris from the cells and things like that. So when we have a sluggish immune system, when we have poor circulation, sometimes it can create more problems than you realize long term. What I'm going to do with you today is go over some basics and studies and research aside. There's a lot of common sense as to why you would use a vibration machine. When you move, lymph moves. With our circulation system, our blood has a pump, our heart and the health of that heart is a whole other topic, but the blood is pumped through our body and returned through that heart. With your lymphatic system, it's more effectively, we've got more lymph fluid in our body than we do blood, and it interacts with a lot of things in our body. And if you're stagnant and you're a desk jockey and you're inactive in your lifestyle, sluggish immune system can cause an array of health disorders. And a lot of what we're going to be doing today is really just going to be a side effect. Anytime you're using your vibration machine, you're going to improve circulation and lymphatic movement. We're going to start today, if you're on a pivotal setting, a pivotal machine, I want you we're just sitting in a chair. A lot of my clients dealing with poor immunity or health conditions can't stand for long durations. So if you're able to stand, you can start this routine standing. On a pivotal platform, I want you using 11 to 14 hertz, somewhere in that warm-up, feel-good frequency range. If you're using your vertical platform today, I'd like you, if you're a beginner, starting at the 30 to 35 hertz range. We're just working on a warm-up. On your vertical platform, I want your intensity or your amplitude setting low. On a pivotal platform, I want your feet simply hip width apart. And sitting in a chair, I've done a few routines this way. You're going to feel this primarily up to the knees, just above the knees into the lower thighs. And depending on whether you're dealing with some chronic pain or things like that, you can adjust on your pivotal. If you want to reduce the intensity, bring your feet closer together. On your vertical platform, if you're using a higher setting and you're finding it too intense, bring that intensity and that frequency down. We're going to do this for about a minute to a minute and a half sitting here. We're not incorporating a lot of body weight. If you're standing, you may want to do some pelvic tilts. Just get things moving and churning and get that blood in that lymphatic system moving. Give it some assistance. If you are dealing with chronic concerns, mobility issues, and you want to target upper body, there's a way you can do that seated in a chair by taking your hands and just placing them on your knees. You're going to feel a slight little movement up into the arms just by kind of connecting with the knees. If you want more movement throughout the upper body and your range of motion allows you to, lean over a little further and get your elbows on those knees, and you'll feel that a little bit more up into the shoulders, the neck. A lot of my ladies that are trying to target the upper lymph nodes, tension and fatigue in the neck, but don't have the ability to get down on the ground, this is an alternative you can do just sitting on a chair in front of your machine. You want to make sure whatever you are using as a chair that you're sitting in a fashion that your hips are not lower than your knees. If you're just using a regular kitchen chair or your office chair, with your feet on your platform, it's going to raise your foot position off the ground a bit, and you might find that you're going downhill. So you want to make sure that when you are sitting in a stool or a counter height stool, that your hips are level with your knees, certainly not below. An exercise, if you're trying to strengthen the legs that we're going to progress to get more of a total body effect, we're going to stand on the platform here next. But before we do that, I want to bring the frequencies up here. If you're working on a pivotal platform, bring it up to about 18, 19, as much as 20, 22 hertz. You may want to bring your foot placement a little bit closer to the center. On your vertical platform, I want you bringing your frequencies up now to the 35, 40 hertz range if you're comfortable with that. You can keep your intensity low. If you're a little bit more conditioned, a little bit more athletic, you can experiment with that higher amplitude at this point, or that higher intensity setting. So what you'll notice on the higher frequencies, it's a little bit less of a wobble. You don't feel that shaking back and forth like you did in the slower frequencies on your pivotal. On your vertical, you might feel the movements a little bit more prominently in those slower frequencies where those muscles are firing and contracting at a slower rate. The higher frequencies, from a lymph perspective, we are recruiting at this point in certain parts of our body more muscle fiber. On the higher frequencies, higher load, we're recruiting more muscle activity and more fiber. And through doing that, a lot of people think your lymph is just the nodes within our body, but you've got lymph intertwined throughout your muscles and blood vessels everywhere. Let's face it. So by targeting more muscle fiber and firing a higher percentage, we're further moving that blood, getting into things like microcirculation and the deep lymph. I talk with a lot of my ladies that are dealing with very chronic conditions like lipedema or Durkheim's disease. Shout out to Kim out in Vancouver there. But on these higher frequencies, what we're going to do is we're going to move more in less time. So if you are dealing with chronic issues, a minute or two sitting on these higher frequencies is probably sufficient. We're going to progress to standing. So I want you to just stand up a little bit. For those of you that weren't using a chair to start this routine, we're just going to start off with a couple of pelvic tilts, loosen things up in that core area, maybe do some little hula movements. If you're looking to gain leg strength, accelerate weight loss, and to maybe tone up a little bit, I would encourage you to progress into a bit of a squat. The nice thing about having a chair, if you're not used to doing squats regularly, I do want you to push yourself. Don't get so hung up on how long you're spending doing your squats. What I want you to focus on is good technique, make sure that you're breathing, and push to fatigue. If this is easy for you and you're not feeling much 5-10 seconds in, try harder. Make the position itself more challenging. If you're using a platform with handles, I want you to hang on for stability, but not for dear life. You may find if your stability is good, not hanging on to your platform kind of keeps you in check and challenges your position a little bit more. If you are dealing with squats for the first time and you're finding you're reaching fatigue and it's practically impossible for you to stand up, sit back down in your chair. It's also a little bit of a safety thing if you're just working with some of these exercises for the first time. So in the pelvic tilt, we're looking at about 30 seconds to a minute for those that wanted to progress to a squat. I'd love to see you on the higher frequencies progressing, and pushing to that 30 seconds, maybe a minute mark. If you're not fatiguing on your pivotal platform, increase the distance between your feet to increase that amplitude. On your vertical platform, you may want to kick that up to a higher setting. If you are focusing and targeting on lymph, I just want to take a bit of a tangent here. I mentioned detoxification earlier. Detoxification is a very big topic that I'm not going to get into in today's session, but for those of you that are doing a cleanse, making a conscious effort, or perhaps trying to detoxify due to, there's a number of reasons we have toxins in our bodies, but I'm working with an ion cleanse program right now. I'm very comfortable with that. For me, it's a convenient option, but for anyone doing a cleanse out there, I suggest using your machine, in this fashion. Get that lymph and that circulation moving before or after you're doing these activities, just to give it a little bit of help. It's going to accelerate the benefits of your cleanse. It's going to further aid in detoxification. A machine is a great way just through that lymph movement to aid in detoxification, but it's going to be a catalyst and help progress further if you are using other things in conjunction with that. I've posted today's settings in the comments today. If you do have any questions or you have any lymphatic or circulation areas of your body that you're trying to target specifically, I always invite your questions, and I thank you for joining us today. I hope I've kept it simple and something that'll help you get into the habit easily.